Sometimes in life, stuff happens that sucks. You don't feel good about it. When something happens and you feel really bad, chances are pretty good that you're not feeling bad about the thing that happened. Most of your bad feeling comes from the stories you're telling yourself about the thing that happened. This is an incredibly important and powerful and useful thing to understand. It is so important. You're a master storyteller. I'm a master storyteller. We all are master storytellers. When we start developing the ability to use language to put meanings together, and we start playing with meanings in this way, we start making stories. As far as I know, we're not taught in school that these are just meanings that we're making up. This is not reality. When I was going through school and all through my growing up, the thing that I've seen modeled around me and the thing that everyone seems to use as a basis for their actions and decisions and thoughts is this belief that reality is the same thing as the stories we tell ourselves. This is crazy. This is so crazy. And I really wish that somebody had pointed out to me when I was much younger that we are all making up stories all the time. And the stories we tell ourselves, that's not reality. Especially when I felt really badly about something. So I have ADHD, and when I was really young, I also experienced RSD, rejection sensitive dysphoria, where I would often generate loads of thoughts around how if I did something in a social setting and there was a response that seemed a bit funny to me, or where I didn't feel obviously approved or accepted, then I would start generating loads of thoughts about maybe I had said or done something wrong. Maybe people didn't like me. Maybe on and on and on. And I would feel really badly about that. I wish somebody had told me then, hey, you're feeling really badly? Why? What is the story you're telling yourself? I wish someone had told me, when you feel badly, you're feeling bad about the story you're telling yourself. When you feel badly, that means you're telling yourself some really sad stories or some really bad stories. Stories are so powerful. Just think about when you get really drawn into a book or a movie or somebody else's story. Just think about the best movies or the best books. You feel things so much. The best ones are when you really feel for the different characters. Those are the best stories. Stories can be so powerful. And when that story that you're telling is about yourself, potentially, you can feel it even more powerful. It's just within you, that experience, but it's just a story. If you feel bad, it doesn't mean that something bad is actually going on. Sometimes it does mean that, and so it's a good idea to be able to have a look at things and check if that's what it means. But it's easier to actually figure out if that's the case or not if you're not being swallowed up by the stories that you're telling yourself. So if you can separate the stories you're telling yourself from actual fact of what's going on, it's a lot easier to tell if something actually is going on that you need to step away from and how you need to respond to that. When you feel really badly about an event, let's say, suppose you found out that a bunch of people who you thought were your friends went out together, but they didn't let you know and they didn't invite you. You find this out after the fact. So the event is that your friends met, went somewhere. That's the event. And you didn't know about it. Do you feel badly that your friends happened to go to this thing? Or do you feel badly because the story you're telling yourself is, oh, I really wish I could have gone too. I really wish I were invited, but they didn't invite me. So that's one story. Another story you could add to that is, they didn't invite me because they hate me. You can add another layer to that. You can say, they didn't invite me because they hate me, because I suck and nobody wants to be my friend and nobody actually likes me. Like, these are a lot of stories. And of course, like, these are really sad stories. Of course, you're going to feel bad about these stories. But these stories are not reality. Reality is that, your friends met and went to this thing and they didn't tell you about it. Who knows why? Maybe the decision came about so spontaneously or through a series of events that you got missed, or you happened to not be around, or something was going on at the time that distracted everyone and they weren't able to tell you about it, or something was going on for one of them. Like, there was some reason why you didn't know about it that had nothing to do with how they feel about you or whether they wanted you there or not. Or maybe somebody thought that you were off doing something else and couldn't come. Or maybe one of them had a story that they were telling themselves about you. Maybe one of them had a story that you hate them. And you're going to get really angry at them the next time you see them. So they would rather not have you along. And so they ask the others, actually, can we not invite so-and-so because she's furious with me right now? So much can happen. A lot of these things happen because of the stories we're telling ourselves. We are all master storytellers, and every day, all day long, moment from moment, we are making up the story of our experience in our lives. Some of those stories make us feel great. Some of those stories make us feel terrible. You get to choose. You're just making it up. You're just taking a whole set of infinite possible observations about your reality. And from that, you're making up a story. Why don't you make up stories that make you feel good? Why don't you make up stories that make you feel powerful? And I don't mean lie to yourself. Because when you tell yourself the story, oh, they didn't invite me because they all hate me, that's just making stuff up. you could see that as lying to yourself. What makes that not a lie? The stories that you make up all the time, they take some sketchy facts and fill in all the gaps, and you can fill them in with whatever you want that makes any kind of sense or is possible at all. And, that's what we do all the time. We just fill in the gaps to the best of our ability. The problem really happens when we have no awareness of how we're automatically filling in those gaps with things that are making us feel bad, or with things that are robbing us of our power. That's when the problem happens, when we are doing that and we don't even know we're doing that, and we mistake the stories we're telling ourselves with actual reality. The stories that you tell yourself are not reality. They are not truth etched in stone. So don't argue with other people if they offer a different possibility or a different story, because these are all just stories. And they are entitled to have their story. You're entitled to have your story. You get to decide what your story is going to be. They can say whatever stories they want. They can choose to believe your story or not. You are the one who gets to believe your story. You're the one who gets to decide your story. So notice that. In any given day, all day long, you're creating the story of your experience, your life, and you are creating the feelings you're having. And anytime you feel bad, ask yourself, what's the story I'm telling myself? What's a different story I could tell myself? And just have a little play with that, like all the different stories you could choose from. Just make up a bunch and then just say, well, which story do I actually want? Which story serves me the best? Like, if your friends didn't invite you somewhere and you have a set of stories that says, they hate me, everybody hates me, I suck. Okay, so there's one story. Or you could have the story, I have no idea why they didn't invite me. I'll ask them next time I have the chance to, and see what they say. Whatever they say, I'll be okay. And it'll help me to see if they're really my friends, if they're people that I want to actually be around. That's another possible story. Another possible story is, I have no idea why they didn't invite me. But whatever they do, I can take care of my own needs. And if I want to spend more time with friends, then I'm perfectly able to create that. I can reach out to people, I can build things, I can create what I want in my life. That's another story. Why not? They're all equally possible. And although the first one about they hate me and I suck, that's based on a whole load of just making stuff up that you cannot possibly know. Whereas the other stuff, it's kind of more like choosing to go down a path that is an option to you. There's a difference between just making up stuff you can't possibly know and then insisting that that's the truth. Like, there is an element there of self-blindness and delusion that you might want to look at. Like, what are you trying to hide from yourself? Or what are you avoiding? facing. You might be avoiding facing the pain of your fear that you really suck, right? And weirdly, because you're avoiding facing that pain that you feel about that, you decide to just go for it and just say that you suck before anyone else does, to avoid the pain you're feeling about the fear that you suck. You actually just jump into the pain. It makes no sense, but this is the kind of thing that people commonly do. Okay, I hope this has served you, and as ever, I hope this helps you to connect with your power, which you have. Not only the power that you have, but the power that you're exercising all the time, whether you know it or not. You are the only one who gets to make up the stories you tell yourself. You're the only one with that power. You're exercising it all the time. You're making up stories constantly. How about if you start telling yourself stories that actually help you, that are actually loving, that are actually empowering, connect you to your power? How about that? Because you're using your power anyway. Why not use it in the way you want?